So to begin with today, we're looking at St Johnswort, and this is a St Johnswort here that we're looking at. You'll notice the yellow flowers and the flower buds, which are sort of pinky purple colour, and actually if you squeeze the buds you will actually see a dark purple stain come onto your hand, and that's one of the ways to be able to identify that this is Hypericum perforatum. The second way is, if I just grab a leaf here, is if you look at the reverse of the leaf, and I'll just try and get this in focus. What you'll see, it's not very clear on this, but around the edge of the underside of the leaf are little dark dots, and you'll also see that there are perforations, very small pinpricks. If you hold it up to the light you'll be able to see it across the whole of the leaf, and that is another way to be able to identify that this is Hypericum perforatum, which is the most medicinal St Johnswort. So a lot of people sort of recognise St Johnswort as an antidepressant, but that's actually it's not its main action, and you don't need to take it internally. I do not take it internally if you are taking any medication, but if you aren't taking any medication you can take it as a tea for just general health. It's also an antiviral, so you could take it if you were feeling that you were coming down with something. But if you actually infuse it in oil and you extract its medicinal properties in an oil and then you apply that, it has nerve pain relieving properties. So that's something that you can try at home. What you're aiming for is for the oil to turn like a ruby red. That really shows you that you've extracted the hypericin, which is the part that is going to give you that pain relieving action. And to have the infused oil, if you want to apply that to sciatica or any kind of pain, aches or pains on the body, then you can, and it's safe to do so, even if no matter the medication you're taking, because it doesn't cross from the skin into the bloodstream. The next plant today is evening primrose, and this is a native wild British flower, and you can see it grows on a long stem. This is actually quite a short one, but they can grow quite tall, up to about 2 meters, or just under 2 meters. They've got these beautiful bell-shaped flowers, and medicinally they are used as a pain reliever to reduce spasms in muscles, and this can be again infused in an oil and then applied topically. You could also make it into a tincture and then take the tincture to relieve aches and pains. People tend to know evening primrose oil, which has very different properties, and that's actually pressed from the plant, but you don't get those properties in if you're going to actually infuse it in oil, or if you make it into a tincture. But that's certainly one to look out for. It's not endangered, it grows freely, and so yeah, it's a great one to look out for if you're looking for something to make into a medicine. Just come over here, and this is a cinquefoil. This is a very small one, and it usually grows in patches. If I just show you, it will grow sort of in amongst grass like that. If you can see, this particular cinquefoil is silverweed. If you look on the underside of the leaf, it is silvery white. So that's an easy way to be able to identify this. Usually, it's quite easy to identify these toothed edge leaves. And if you look at the flower, it does have a similarity to buttercup, but it's not shiny. It's a matte, so do make sure that it isn't a buttercup that you are looking at. And this silverweed is a really good remedy for diarrhea. It's a mild astringent, and it also has effects on the nervous system. It can help to relieve anxiety, and it also aids general digestion as well. And all of those generally will be taken as a tea, which it is safe to do so. It doesn't have any interactions with any drugs, and it also is safe for children. So this is hawthorn, and I've talked about hawthorn in previous videos, but this is to show it to you in fruit. These are haws, the fruit of the hawthorn tree, and these you can eat them, but you need to boil them first. So you will often see recipes for them, hawthorn ketchup, adding them to hedgerow jellies, those sorts of recipes, because they're boiled and you're going to extract out the edible and medicinal properties from them and then discard the bit that's not edible. So yes, you can look those up. So medicinally, the best way really to extract this is in a tincture. You can also just make hawthorn brandy, very similar to sloe gin, but add these haws to a bottle of brandy and basically just leave it for as long as you can, which will be mildly medicinal. But to really make it into a tincture, you need to have as many of these haws in the alcohol as possible, and then leave it for 2 to 3 weeks, and then strain it, and then that will be your tincture. So hawthorn tincture, it doesn't have any interactions with any drugs, so it is safe for anybody to take. Can just be used for general health, but it tends to be helps to reduce blood pressure, regulates heartbeat, reduces cholesterol. So lots of associations with the heart. Also traditionally was used to heal people's broken hearts. So it's always had a very strong association with the heart. And yes, very safe. So it's one that's easy to identify, obviously, especially at this time of year, because you can see that these are red, dull berries, and this is the leaf shape that you're looking for. And they do have thorns, so do be careful. So this is Meadowsweet. It's actually not very clear. I'll see if I can just move it so that you can see it a bit better. I often describe it as looking like it's got candy floss on a stem. Oh, that's actually better. It's nearly over now, so this is the very last of the flower that you'll see. So quite distinctive. They have these red stems, and quite a different leaf shape, so take a look at that. And you'll see a lot of it growing. It loves water, so it's quite easy to identify. Traditionally used in beer as a preservative and flavouring, and it's what aspirin was originally extracted from, rather than willow. So it does have the similarities to aspirin in that it is an anti-inflammatory and a pain reliever, but without the side effects of aspirin. It's what we call herbal Gaviscon, especially if you take it as a tea, because it actually coats the whole of the digestive tract and reduces stomach acid. It doesn't just reduce stomach acid, it actually brings the stomach acid back into, whether somebody has too much, then it brings it down. If somebody doesn't have enough, then it brings it up. So it's a really important remedy and very safe. It doesn't have any interactions with any drugs. So if, for example, you are taking antacids or PPIs, then you can actually take this. It is safe to take. So it's generally taken as a tea for that, and just to aid digestion. as a tincture, it's actually used for things like osteoarthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, general aches and pains in muscles and bones, particularly large joints. It has more of an association with large joints. But yeah, so it's a fantastic anti-inflammatory, and can be used alongside other anti-inflammatories. And I'm just going to move on to nettle. Now, this is actually nettle where it's in flower and it's going to seed. So nettle seeds are a fantastic superfood, really. They're the British native superfood, and they're very safe. They don't have any interactions with any drugs, because they're edible. So you can obviously eat them, add them to porridge, smoothies, the same sort of thing that you would with any seeds. You can make them into a medicine. You can infuse them in oil and they can be used for arthritis ointments. You can also infuse them in alcohol, so make a tincture with them, and they're used to improve energy, and also they have a mild effect of boosting the immune system as well, and just generally improving health overall. But they also have a particular association with the kidneys. So for anybody who has kidney disease, this is a medicine that a lot of herbalists use for that. So this is just a better example of the nettle seed here. You can see these ones are bright green. So a lot of people like to gather them in this stage when they're at this green, but they will turn sort of a mid-brown colour when they start to mature, and you can collect them at that stage as well. Either's fine. Obviously, just make sure that they don't have anything growing on them that they shouldn't, like any kind of fungus. But usually you don't tend to get that on nettle seeds. So this is elderberry. I talked about elderflower before, but now this is the elderberry. It's out. So just take a look at the leaf, make sure that it is elder. And these berries are, in fact, these are actually slightly over, as you can see. These are starting to go over, these berries. But you can gather them now and just pick them from here, and then to take the berries off, use a fork just to take them off of the little stems, and they can be made into tinctures, they can be made into syrup, they can just be put in the freezer as they are, or you can make them into a syrup and then freeze that, or just make them actually into a decoction and freeze that in ice cube tray, and then just take one out as you want to take it. That's a good way of preserving it if you've got plenty of freezer space, or you can tincture it, because as soon as it's in alcohol, you've got a much longer shelf life, so that's another option. For children, you can make them into ice lollies, so there are lots of options. It's fantastic antiviral, can be used to actually prevent infections in the winter, just by taking about 5 ml, which is a teaspoon, of either the syrup or tincture, can actually prevent and boost the immune system so that you don't actually come down with anything. Also, they're used if you do come down with something, so because of their antiviral action, they will fight off any kind of viral infection. So yeah, fantastic, and there are lots of recipes out there for elderberry syrups and tinctures if you want to take a look at those. So the last one I'm going to talk about today is Gelda Rose. This is also sometimes known as crampbark. Gelda Rose is the English name, and crampbark tends to be the American name for it. Its Latin name is Viburnum opulus, which I think this is a Viburnum opulus, but there are several different types. You'll notice these bright shiny red berries. Do not eat them. They're not poisonous, but they will irritate your stomach quite horribly. So yes, it's not those that tend to be used, and it's not actually harvested at this time of year. It's something that's harvested in the early spring, and the inner bark of new branches is actually what's used, and it helps to reduce blood pressure, support arteries and their functioning, and also reduces pain and reduces spasms. So it's a very useful medicine, and it's non-native to the UK, but it is used a lot, and it's sort of as a decorative tree in parks and things, so you will see it quite a lot. But yes, it's actually from North America. So that's it for the walk today, and I hope you enjoyed it.